All right, thanks, guys. Sad day in the sports world, more specifically the NFL. We'll touch on that in just a second. But anyway, the Mavericks take on the Pacers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Indiana's -2, totals 212.5. And following yet another losing day on BrockPage.com yesterday, guys, I really can't, in good conscience, promote my website to you today. Now, I am optimistic that we're going to turn this thing around. A handful of real solid picks I put out here earlier this morning. But once again, I'm not going to get on here and say I'm winning when I'm not. It's just the way it is. But you've always known me to push through and persevere. I've been doing that for years. If you want to see if we get back on track here today, I appreciate your vote of confidence. I really like your chances. You're going to win some games eventually. My website is in the description section below. That's brockpage.com. And guys, rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. That was terrible news to wake up to. Man, I'll tell you, nothing but good words about Demaryius Thomas from his peers, co-workers, opponents, competition, media. I mean, this is just a all-around, just great guy. Good friend of mine, Mike Johnson. He actually played with Demaryius down at Georgia Tech years ago, and nothing but great words. So, my thoughts and prayers are with, Demaryius' family, close friends. That was certainly a terrible thing to wake up to. I'm a huge Demaryius Thomas fan. He was an absolute staple in my fantasy teams. I mean, he was a priority every year for a really long time. So that man brought joy to a lot of people, and certainly sad news. My thoughts and prayers are with his family, his close ones, and overall just his fans. If you're a Broncos fan or a big fan of Thomas, it's a tough day for you. It's going to be a tough couple of days. But anyway, rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. And with that, guys, we got to go ahead and push through. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now, the Pacers have won their last two straight, 60% against the number in their last 10. The Pacers play their best basketball at home, and they're currently in the top 10 in home scoring. Malcolm Brogdon is scoring over 20 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for Broggy. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis is scoring 18 points a night himself, along with a dozen rebounds. And speaking of rebounds, the Pacers are in the top 5 in the NBA in defensive rebounding. They're taking on a Dallas team who lost 7 out of their last 10 themselves, and they have a losing record against the spread this season. The Mavs have covered in just 10 out of 24 ball games for the entire year. The Mavs really struggled offensively this year. They're in the bottom 5 in scoring, bottom 5 in offensive rebounding. Meanwhile, on the other end of the court, the Mavs have also struggled to rebound the basketball. Now, injury-wise, Brown is questionable. Cauley-Stein is out. Meanwhile, for Indiana, Holiday, Warren, and McConnell, they're all still out for them. When it comes to the total in this one, Indiana's last 4 straight all got over the posted number, 7-1 to the over in their last 8. The Pacers have also seen their fair share of overs at home. They're 64% to the over at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I'm going to lean toward Indiana -2, over 212.5. Next game, Kings, Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Sacramento's -1, totals 231. But despite their current winning streak, the Kings are still 3 games below 500, and they also have a losing record against the spread as well. The Kings have had significant problems defensively this season. They're in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding, and they allow nearly 117 points a game when they travel. Sacramento is currently in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage. They're taking on a Charlotte club who successfully covered the point spread in their last 4 straight, 9-2 against the spread on their home court this season. Charlotte scores more points per contest than any other team in the NBA. They also lead the association in three-point shooting at home. The Hornets are drilling 40% of their three-pointers at the Spectrum Center. Miles Bridges is scoring over 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists for the forward. Gordon Hayward's also dropping over 17.5 points a night himself, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Gordy. The Hornets are winning 64% of their ball games in the Queen City. When it comes to the injury report, Smith, Plumlee, Rozier, McDaniels, and Ball, they're all still out for Charlotte. Meanwhile, for Sacramento, Holmes is still out indefinitely for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Kings saw 5 out of their last 7 get over the number. Sacramento's officially 8-4 to the over on the road. Meanwhile, Charlotte saw their last 7 outings get over the posted total themselves. Charlotte's officially 8-3 to the over at the Spectrum Center. I'm going to lean toward Charlotte +1 over 231. Next contest, Knicks, Raptors, 7:30 Eastern start time. Toronto's -1, numbers 207.5. But as bad as New York's played here recently, it's the Raptors who dropped 5 out of their last 8 themselves. Matter of fact, the Raptors play their worst basketball at home. They're winning only 30% of their ball games at the Scotiabank Arena. They've also gone a pitiful 3-10 against the spread in those home games. Toronto's had their downfalls on both ends of the court. Now, offensively, they're in the bottom 5 in home scoring, bottom 10 in home offensive rebounding. Meanwhile, defensively, Toronto's really struggling to stop the 3 ball in front of their home fans. They're taking on a Knicks team who's got a winning record on the road, and they do a real nice job shooting the 3 ball themselves. New York's currently in the top 10 in offensive 3-point percentage, top 3 in offensive rebounding on the road. Julius Randle scoring nearly 20 points a game, 9 rebounds, 5 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, R.J. Barrett scoring 15 points a game along with 5 boards, a couple assists. Now defensively, the Knicks are allowing only 105 points per contest when traveling, and they're in the top 3 in road defensive field goal percentage. Now injury-wise, the Knicks are relatively healthy at the moment. Meanwhile, for Toronto, Anunoby's out, Achua and Champagnie are questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Toronto's last 9 got over the line, throwing out the Washington game. The Raptors have also gone 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with New York. And speaking of the Knicks, they saw their last 5 straight get over the posted number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Knicks +1 over 207.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Nets versus the Hawks, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Atlanta's -1.5, totals 226. Now, Atlanta's won 7 out of their last 10 ball games, 8-4 straight up at the State Farm Arena. Atlanta's currently leading the entire NBA in shooting the 3 ball. They're knocking down nearly 40% of their 3-pointers as a team. Atlanta's also in the top 10 in offensive points per game. Trae Young is scoring over 26 points a night, 4 rebounds, 9 assists for Trae. He's also drilling nearly 40% of his 3 balls. Meanwhile, John Collins is scoring 17 points a game himself, along with 7 rebounds, a couple assists. Collins is also making over 41% of his 3-pointers himself. And as good as they've been offensively, the Hawks are currently in the top 5 in home defensive rebounding. They're giving up just 105 points per contest in front of their home fans. Now they're taking on a Brooklyn squad who lost 2 out of their last 3. And that includes a double-digit loss to Houston. The Nets have also been terrible against the point spread here recently. Just 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 ball games. The Nets are currently in the bottom 5 in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. Meanwhile, defensively, the Nets are in the bottom 10 in second quarter points allowed away from home. Now, injury-wise, Harris is still out indefinitely for Brooklyn. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, Bogdanovich, Hunter, and Okongwu are still out for them. And when it comes to the total in this one, Atlanta's 7-5 to the under at the State Farm Arena. Meanwhile, the Nets saw their last 4 straight fall under the total themselves, 60% to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta -1.5, under 226. Next ball game, Bucks, Rockets, 8 o'clock East. Milwaukee's -8 totals 227. The Bucks failed to cover in their last 2 straight, 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. Milwaukee's making just 74% of their free throws on the road. They're also in the bottom 10 in fourth quarter scoring. Now defensively on the other end of the court, the Bucks also have struggled somewhat when traveling. Matter of fact, Milwaukee allows more third quarter points per contest on the road than any other team in the NBA. They're taking on a Houston club who's on a 7-game winning streak, and they failed to cover the point spread just once during that stretch. Houston currently has a winning record at home this year. They're also in the top 5 in defending the 3-ball. Houston's currently holding their opponents to just 32% shooting from 3-land. Now scoring-wise, Christian Wood is averaging over 16 points a game, 11 boards, couple assists for the center. Meanwhile, Eric Gordon is drilling 44% of his three-pointers, 14 points a game, and 2 assists a night for Igor. And speaking of three-pointers, the Rockets are in the top 10 in shooting the 3-ball at home. Now, injury-wise, House and Porter are out for tonight's contest. Meanwhile, for Milwaukee, Giannis and Hill are questionable. Ojale is out. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee's 62% to the under for the entire season. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Houston fall under the total. Meanwhile, the Rockets are 7-5 to the under at the Toyota Center, 14-10 to the under at any location. I'm going to lean toward Houston +8, under 227. Next matchup, it is going to be Cavaliers versus the T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Minnesota's -1, totals 213.5. Minnesota's on a 4-game losing streak, 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. Beverly and Russell are both questionable for tonight's contest. Minnesota also has a losing record at home, and they're covering just 40% of their ball games there. Minnesota's in the bottom 3 in offensive field goal percentage at home. Meanwhile, defensively, they're in the bottom 3 in rebounding. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who won 5 out of their last 7. They've also gone a staggering 9-0 against the spread in their last 9 straight. Matter of fact, this is the best covering team in the NBA. They're 11-2 against the spread on the road, 21-5 against the spread overall for the season, and that's good for an astounding 81% overall for the year. Some guy told me the other day in the comments, he said, hey, we just need to hold off betting NBA until the playoffs. First, I was like, dude, that's like a 5-month layoff. What are you talking about? And number 2, if you've been tailing Cleveland this year, 21-5 against the spread, 81% covering, like you've made your money for the entire year. Actually, if you were betting Cleveland, like every game at an 81% cash rate, you probably could wait until the playoffs to bet NBA again. But anyway, I believe it was John Doe who said that. But always good to see John Doe in the comments. But anyway, the Cavaliers, they were playing a very good defense. They're allowing just 102 points per contest. They're also in the top 5 in defensive rebounding on the road. Now, scoring-wise, Darius Garland is dropping nearly 20 points a game, 2 rebounds, 7 assists for the point guard. Meanwhile, Jared Allen scoring over 17 points a night himself, along with 11 boards. Cleveland's in the top 10 in the league in offensive field goal percentage on the road. When it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of Cleveland's last 7 fell under the posted number. Cleveland's also 16-10 to the under for the entire season. Now, the T-Wolves are 10-5 to the under at the Target Center themselves. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland +1, under 213.5. Next matchup, Lakers Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. LA's -5, totals 217.5. Now, the Lakers have been brutal against the number here recently. 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. 34% against the number overall for this season. The Lakers have also got themselves a losing record on the road. They're currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in points allowed per contest. Bottom 5 in defensive rebounding. These guys have been playing terrible on the defensive end of the court. Now they're taking on a Thunder team who won their last 2 straight, and they went 7-3 against the spread in their last 10. And speaking of covering, OKC got the job done in 64% of their home games. Matter of fact, OKC's currently covered 63% of their ball games for the entire season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Lou Dort, 17.5 points a game, 4 rebounds. And of course for Dort, much better numbers this year compared to last year. OKC is currently in the top 10 in second quarter scoring at home. Now total-wise, OKC's 6-5 to the under at the Paycom Center. They're also 14-10 to the under for the entire year. Meanwhile, the Lakers saw 3 out of their last 4 contests fall under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward OKC plus 5, under 217.5. Next matchup, Pistons, Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. New Orleans is minus 6.5, totals to 11. And as bad as the Pels have been, they're still covering the point spread in 50% of their home games. Matter of fact, the Pelicans have done a pretty nice job under the boards this season. They're in the top 10 in offensive rebounding, top 5 in defensive rebounding as well. Now scoring-wise, Brandon Ingram's averaging over 22.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, Jonas Valanciunas is scoring nearly 19 a night himself, 12 rebounds, 2 assists for the big man. They're taking on a Pistons team who lost 10 straight games. They find themselves with a 166 win percentage overall for the season. Detroit's dead last in offensive field goal percentage. They're scoring just 99 points a game and making only 40% of their field goals. Meanwhile, defensively, the Pistons are a league worst in defending the field goal. Detroit's gotten the W in just 2 of 12 road games. And when it comes to the injury report, Olynyk and Livers are still out. Hayes is questionable. Meanwhile, for the Pels, Williamson and Holmes are still out for them. And when it comes to the number in this one, New Orleans' last 2 straight got over the posted total. 6-2 to the over in their last 8. Meanwhile, the Pistons saw their last 3 straight get over the line themselves. 4-1 to the over in their last 5. I'm going to lean toward the Pelicans minus 6.5 over to 11. And with that, guys, now it's time for our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Celtics versus the Suns, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Phoenix is minus 5.5, totals 214. The Suns have won 20 of 24 contests overall for the season. They're 11-2 straight up on their home court. They're also in the top 5 in scoring on average per contest, top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. DeAndre Ayton is scoring over 16 points a night along with 11 rebounds. Meanwhile, Chris Paul is scoring over 14.5 points a game himself, along with double-digit assists. Now, defensively, the Suns allow only 103 points per contest. They're also in the top 5 in defensive field goal percentage at home. They're taking on a Boston club who lost their last 2 straight, 3-5 straight up in their last 8. The Celtics have a losing record on the road, and they're in the bottom 10 in shooting the 3 ball. Now, equally as bad, the Celtics are playing just .500 basketball right now, and they're in the bottom 5 in first quarter scoring. Now, injury-wise, Brown and Fernando are out. Parker is questionable. Meanwhile, for Phoenix, Devin Booker is still out and definitely with a hammy. When it comes to the total on this one, Phoenix went 6-3 to the over in their last 9 ball games, throwing out that Spurs contest. Meanwhile, Boston saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the posted number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Phoenix minus 5.5 over 214. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my website at brockpage.com. I like Indiana minus 2 over 212.5. Charlotte plus 1 over 231. New York Knicks plus 1 over 207.5. Atlanta minus 1.5 under 226. Houston plus 8 under 227. Cleveland plus 1 under 213.5. OKC plus 5 under 217 and a hook. New Orleans Pelicans minus 6.5 over 211. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that today's video is powered to you by my website at brockpage.com. I like Phoenix minus 5.5 over 214. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Blaine Medvick, who said the other day, I hate COVID. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Just another reminder, today's video is brought to you by brockpage.com. I'm not going to promote any packages today, like I said earlier, because I've stunk recently really bad. Now, if you're deciding that you want to sign up for a package anyway, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. We utilize the Patreon platform, and that's the way they do their billing cycle. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, if you're not adhering to my recommendation of maybe taking a few days off, just keep in mind you are going to get access to those picks all the way through the end of December. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you're really interested in getting a membership here today, you may want to think about getting the board member tier. That membership gives you access to every single pick that I give out on that website all the way through the end of December. But like I said, guys, I've been losing a lot over the past 6 days or so. So just, you know what? Everybody talks about transparency, this and that. I don't care about transparency. I care about winning games, right? And so when I don't win games, I'm not going to come on here and say I'm winning games. I'm not winning games right now. I don't care about transparency. I care about winning games. So yeah, I know it seems like, oh, well, you know, he's being transparent. He's being honest. I don't care about that. I only care about winning. All right? So it is what it is. Guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And maybe I'll see you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.